straight through these walls right here, and then take a right.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
Yeah. So go past the drape and then take a right here.
Okay. So should I stand here?
Yeah, you can stand right there. Yeah.
Oh, just stay here?
You can stand here if you want.
Okay.
Nate go on after her?
Catherine.
Catherine's going to bring Nate.
I'll be cheering you on the back.
Thank you, dude.
Please welcome to the stage, Platinum 3, Elite Black Grease, Zolecki.
Well, man, did anybody else feel the boot kick from Terry? I'm like, wow. I'm like, yes, ma'am. Marching orders. Oh, my goodness. Well, happy International Women's Day to all those amazing women here today. How cool is that it's our conference and we're celebrating today? I just think it's just so awesome. Sorry, guys, but it is awesome for women. All right, guys, so I want to take you back a little bit, okay? So I was 23 years old. I was living in Orlando, Florida. I was actually working the business. I was, a couple years in. I was working in an office. There was 100 people working in an office, and that was kind of back in the day where we would have presentations in an office. And I remember when I was working in there, there's always like these special guests that come to town, right? And a lot of times these special guests were people that you would see on a Zoom, right? Or you would see like on a success story. And I'll never forget, I was kind of setting up the room, getting the chairs ready, excited for this event. And I was sitting down in the back and I feel this hand on the back of my shoulder, and it was really like a big hand, right? And I remember, sitting there, and I looked up and I looked at him, and I freaked out because it was actually someone that I'd seen in a success story. And I was like, oh my gosh. And he looked at me, and all he said is, kid, you're up. And I'm like, up to what? Like, what are you talking about? Right? Mind you, I had like 2 people in my team, okay? I was not like the epitome of success by any means. And he said, you're up. He's like, I asked them, I needed someone to actually introduce me, and I would love for you to introduce me in front of the room, getting the event started. And I'll never forget, I was sweating bullets. I was thinking anything I could to try to get out of it. I was like, should I say I got a stomachache? Should I really try to throw up? Like, what should I do? Like, I was like freaking, right? And so I'm like, God, I got to do it, right? I got to do it. And I was in front of my peers, so I didn't want to look like an idiot. And you guys know, we've been to all the trainings. You got to push through the fear. It's uncomfortable. Do it. And so I'm like, okay, I'm doing it. And I'll never forget. I walk up to the room, and I'm actually going to do a reenactment of what happened, okay? Because I'll never forget this. It's one of those like defining moments that you have in your business. And I'll never forget. I was so nervous. I was standing in back of the room, and I walk up to the room. Okay, I walk up the one side, I walk up to the front of the room, just like this, and I'm standing there, and I completely draw a blank. Anyone ever do that? Like blackout, like nothing happening in here, just a bunch of marbles rolling around your brain, like nothing is going on. And I'm standing there, and I'm like, oh my God, I couldn't remember the guy's name. I remember nothing, right? And we had just had like a training on edification, how to edify leaders, talk about, and I'm like, I forgot everything. And it was back in the day when like slang, like you would say words like the bomb. You're the bomb, Jen, you're the bomb, right? Okay? Do you guys get where I'm going with this? Horrible, horrible. So I walk up the stage, I walk all the way up here, I get to the front, and I get up there, and I'm like, hey, everybody. And instead of like addressing everyone in the crowd and whatever, I'm like, oh my God, you guys are here. Like surprised they showed up. Like terrible. Oh my God, I was like losing my mind. And I said that, and then I was like, oh my God, I'm so excited for you guys to meet Scott. He's the bomb. Here he is. And I walked off the stage. Okay? But mind you, not only did I walk off the stage, I walked off the stage, walked down there, walked out the back, and I walked right to the bathroom, and I sat in a bathroom stall. I walked right out of the room. And what was so crazy is at the end of the night, he came up to me, and I was like, oh my God, I'm so sorry. Kind of didn't go the way I planned. I don't know what happened. And I asked him though, and I said, why did you pick me? I don't even know you. You know what I mean? Like, I'm just like a little peon, you know, just trying to make it, selling some water filters. Like, it was crazy, right? And he said, I asked them in the office who had the most belief, not based on rank or title or anything, and they pointed to you. And I want to share with you guys that belief, it's everything. You've kind of heard, like I've talked, you know, I've heard so many amazing presenters, right? Hasn't it been an incredible weekend? Oh my gosh, it's been awesome. And it's so cool how God works, how he kind of just weaves messages throughout this entire weekend, even though none of us presenters really talked about our topics. I never sat down with Samantha and said, hey, let's go through the presentations together. We didn't, right? But it's so cool how that just kind of organically happened. And so I want to share with you, like, it's so important about belief, but also enthusiasm. And it's important to think about, like, how do you guys actually grow your enthusiasm? How do you protect your enthusiasm, right? Because we got to protect it through all the goods and bads and all the things that happen in this business. Like, how do you guys actually protect it? And so I'm excited because we're going to talk about, like, how do you actually elevate your belief, okay? This is actually a picture of me. This is when I was on stage, guys. This is the very first time I came up. I introduced him. I don't know if you guys recognize, for those of you hairstylists, my God, I don't know what's going on. My roots were so bad. I'm like, I needed my hair done bad. But I was wearing either a JCPenney suit that I think I put on layaway, or Maurice's. Anyone remember that? If you remember that, we all better be drinking a lot of collagen, okay? That's all I gotta say. If you know what I'm talking about, you better be guzzling that. And I was so proud. I was so proud. I stood up in front of that room, and that was me when I did my introduction, and I just completely went blank. But I think it's so important for us to just really focus on, like, be the person that you let your ambitions, the things that drive you, your passion, your enthusiasm, like, push it past all the insecurities that you have, right? And one of the things that I want to share with you guys is that our business, or actually really belief, because there's rings of belief in your business, and there's rings of belief in your life. And I don't know if you guys, any of you guys ever, like, seen an actual sequoia tree, or actually anybody? Yeah, incredible, right? Tony and I, we lived in Northern California for a few years. But for those of you that haven't, giant sequoias are massive, right? They average their rings, they have 2,000 to 3,000 rings. Massive, right? And every ring represents a year. And what happens when it first grows, right? It's like this little sapling. How many agree, like, as a little sapling, like, it's not that strong, right? Blow in the wind, can flop over, can flop through, right? But as it continues to grow through the storms, through the incredible times, through all the different things, through the droughts, whatever, right? It grows stronger and stronger and stronger, right? And that's the same thing in our business, is that when you first get started, you're this little sapling, and you don't really have a ring yet, right? And so your belief is a little bit wobbly, and you're leaning on your sponsor's belief, and you're leaning on the belief that you might maybe on a Zoom that you hear a leader do, and you're like, man, they're saying this, I hope so, right? And but the longer that you're around, and the more ebbs and flows you go through, and the seasons of life, and all the things in our business, your rings get stronger and stronger till you're just unstoppable, right? And so you got to figure out, how do I actually, like, nurture my belief? How do I continuously grow it with specific things that it needs till it becomes unstoppable, okay? So I'm going to give you guys what I call belief boosters. How many need some belief boosters, okay? So let's talk a little bit about this, okay? The one thing I want to share with you guys, this is what I wrote down. As I said, the bigger the belief, or bigger the rings, the more belief you build, the more success you can sustain, okay? So first one, this is me. Tony and I, we found this picture last week. I was like, wow, okay. Guys, this is my very first distributor I ever signed up in my business. Oh my God, it's crazy. Took me 3 years to find this girl. I'm like, where you been? It's been a long haul, you know what I mean? I found somebody. But guys, this is my very first distributor, and it's crazy because, you know, as I was, you know, learning how to grow in this business, you know, it was really learning about how to elevate my belief, right? We heard a lot of great people talk about this weekend, just about ways to elevate your belief, like what to do, how it works. But I think for me, like, elevating my belief, like, I had to come to the realization that I was capable, that I was worthy, that I was deserving. And I hope all of you guys have caught this weekend. Maybe you came in the door, you know, a couple days ago, and maybe you didn't feel capable. Maybe you didn't feel worthy. Maybe you didn't feel like I can pull this off. I hope you guys feel different. Do you guys feel different? Yeah. You guys feel it? Totally, right? So this is my very first check in network marketing. Wasn't very sexy. I don't know if you guys can read it. I made a whopping $945.20 for an entire year. Success story, yeah, going to the top, okay? But here's my point, is that we gotta start somewhere. And it's just like, I think for myself, like, when it comes to believing in you, I think what I think is so important is that, you know, whatever we focus on, guys, like, that's what's gonna grow. You know what I mean? My daughter's going through a lot of kind of anxiety stuff we've been dealing with for the last couple of years, but it's like, you know, anytime I can get her to shift, it's amazing. As soon as she shifts, she focuses on that. And so I think it's so important for us to learn how to make those shifts when things aren't necessarily going the way we want them to go in this business, and continuously just moving, right, and moving forward. So let's talk about belief in a couple of things, okay? So we're gonna talk about belief in the company, we're gonna talk about belief in product, right? We're gonna talk about belief in opportunity, because at the end of the day, it's not really about all of those things, guys, it's about your conviction. How are you convicted in these areas, right? We're gonna talk about knowing the brand, we're gonna talk about living the brand, we're gonna talk about building the brand, right? So you gotta be able to do all of those. So the first thing I want to talk about is I want to talk about knowing, like, the brand, right? Like, I mean, this was such a great week, and that we learned so much more about the mission statement and where we're going and the heart of Modere and, like, all of those great things, right? Awards and all those, like, know that stuff, right? Again, I love what Terry talked about. She's like, you are in business, so know your stuff, right? So knowing the brand, it's going to help elevate you and give you belief. Right? I remember when I first learned all about the product line and the awards and accolations and all of those different things, I got so proud. Like, do you guys not feel proud to represent Modere? When I meet people, I'm waiting. Like, if David and I were just meeting each other, I'm waiting for David to say, what do you do? Because I can't wait to tell him, because I'm so proud to be part of Modere, right? So understanding and knowing the brand is the first part, okay? Second part is living the brand. Right? I think most of us, we do a great job of, my thing is slipping, that's okay. A great job of, like, being your best customer, right? Immersing yourself in the products, right? All the time, we should be creating new stories every month, because we have so many incredible products that each month you should be creating a new story for yourself. Like focusing on having that. Like, one product is great to have for a story, but what about having 20 and 30 and 40 different ones for ourselves, right? So really doing that. But also, too, not just living the brand, but I also would say, like, sharing the stories, right? How many guys had some great conversations this weekend where you talked about great stories, right? And testimonials and things that were working for people, right? Build the brand. Okay, what does that mean? Build the brand means, like, showcasing on success stories from other people, right? Maybe it's your story, right? But I think, you know, building the brand piece, like, that is so important. But I think now, more than ever, Modere has equipped us with so many tools to already help us do that. Okay, so I think it's important, because I want to show you guys this, because this is actually really how, when Tony and I started building the business, our thought and everything that we did, we treated our business exactly like this. Take a look at this.
Everybody in the audience, and listen to me carefully, is being given a special package, and I don't want you to open it. Do not open it. Please, so do not open it until I tell you. All right, open your glasses. Open your glasses. Good.
Imagine if your belief was like that, guys. Every single time when you talk to people, you were like, this is going to be the greatest gift that you're ever going to get, and you are going to be thanking me that I opened my mouth and talked to you. Yeah. Right? Because some of us are walking around like we got the best kept secret. I don't get it. Tony and I, we didn't. We were out there. We were hustling. We're like, here's it. You don't want the gift? Give it back to me. Oh, you don't want it? Like, I wasn't like, it never came from, like, begging people, because I was so proud. Again, I knew my brand. I was living my brand. I was building my brand, right? And so, you know, I want you to have that attitude of, like, oh my God, like, I have the greatest gift out there, but we've got to get out there and really share it. Okay? Elevate your vision, okay? This is elevate your vision. We talked a little bit about vision earlier, But I love this vision piece because this is Tony and I. God, my God, have we come a long way. Woo! That was our first vision board. Crazy. We still have it. It's wild. I don't know. Neither one of us ever picked up a guitar. I don't know what we were thinking. I don't know. Maybe it's Tony wanting to live out his rock star years. I don't know. If you guys saw last night, you guys know what I'm talking about. He would, I mean.
I wanted to be Steven Tyler.
Yeah, he wants to be, yeah, okay. But I don't know where that came from. But I think that I love this because the reality is it's close to like 98% of people out there have actually quit dreaming. You know what I mean? They like dust, you know, like they shelf their dreams. They're kind of I-O, it's off to work I go. You know what I mean? It is what it is. Anyone else hate that saying? I hate it. When people say it to me, I'm like, oh, dude, don't say that, you know? Because it doesn't have to be that way. It really doesn't, right? But what I love about having a vision like this, even though we had nothing at the time, we had nothing, is that our vision board, it gave us purpose. It gave us meaning. It gave us like something to drive towards, right? A lot of you guys have goals, which are great, but I just think that a goal, it's just motivation to get somewhere. You know what I mean? And it's like, having the vision piece is like the long-term thing. Like for Tony and I, like, you know, almost 30 years later, we're still have our eye on the prize of the vision, right? So if people asked you, like, what is your vision, right? And that seemed like a really big word to me. Again, I grew up, you know, I was 21 when I saw this business. I was a nanny. You know what I mean? I had no business being in business. People talked about vision, residual income. They were all foreign words to me. But the vision piece I got excited about because I thought about like, what would it look like? Think about this. What does it look like for you when you've arrived? And arrived could be something different for everybody. You know what I mean? But what does that actually look like? What's that scene that plays out in your head? What does that look like, right? And so we created this scene. But the second part of that is we were willing to work towards that scene. You know what I mean? We were willing to grow into that scene. And so I want to encourage you, like if you don't have that set, you got to set it. And I know that it might feel a little bit weird. It might feel a little bit awkward. But, you know, I know for us, even like when I look at when this was the beginning of Modere. You know, when we sat down and we were in a room, like these are pieces of paper that we put up of like, what do we want to do here? Let's create promo codes. Let's create daily pay. Let's create, you know what I mean? Like all the wonderful things that we all get to be a part of today. And this is me actually very, very pregnant in Japan. They sent me to Japan to try to like get people, Japanese men, excited. Great idea, guys. I was totally pregnant and blonde hair. I was like, wow, okay. So anyways, but guess what? We did it. They got fired up. Oh, that was hard. I told Tony, I go, Tony, no jokes because they don't remember, and please, no jokes because they can't get it. It's translation. Don't go there. And but that was us, like the vision. We were out there and we were like, social retail, this is what we're doing. We're, you know what I mean? We're changing lives and, you know, we're all these different things, all the things that you guys know about, right? And so we just always had that vision in front of us, and it was the scene of like what one day could be and what could happen, and we were willing to work our way and grow our way, right, into that scene. And so I want to encourage you, like, have that vision for you. Some of you guys, I know that it's hard to create that, but I promise you if you do, it's really going to be that carrot that's going to just keep you continuously moving through your entire business. Years and years and years later, just like us, you're going to be like, oh my gosh, I had that vision board. I had that vision that I wanted to create, and now look where I am. It's so cool to look back on years later. All right. So one thing that I want to encourage you, and I want to go back real quick because there was a time that someone had sat me down, and it was so good because he shared with me something that really was about making sure that you just continuously stay like on your horse, meaning working and not wanting to throw the towel in. And when he sat me down, he had this really serious conversation, and he said, you know, Sarah, I want you to get out a piece of paper and I want you to write just these simple words. And these simple words were, I gave up my dreams because. So write that down. I gave up my dreams because. And he said, every time that you feel like your business isn't working, you're having a bad day, you want to throw the towel in, somebody told you no, next door neighbor said, oh, you're one of those deals, Your bestie signed up and then she quit 3 seconds later. Every time you do, and you want to have a pity party, you want to freak out, you want to say this doesn't work, you need to look down at that and you need to say, I gave up my dreams because, and you have to put that. I gave up my dreams because my neighbor told me I was weird. I gave up my dreams because of and I did that a few times, and guess what? I felt pretty dumb. Right? I felt pretty dumb. And so I was like, oh my gosh. And I'll never forget that. That was probably 25 years ago. But it helped me push and continue and always be, working towards my vision of what one day that I want to create, my magical scene, right? What does it look like when I've arrived, right? And mind you, we're not even close to what I want to do with this business. I'm so excited. But when it comes to elevating belief, right? So we're going to talk about these different rings. We talked about elevating you, right? Terry did a great job. Elevating belief in you, right? And the ways that you guys can do that, you're in this environment is one thing. It's so important, right? We talk about elevating your belief in product, right? All the different ways of loving and living and knowing the brand. But then also to elevating your belief in like having your vision. But also, I think it's so important. I love this piece where it talks about your belief is contagious. It really is, guys. It's so become contagious, right? When you elevate your belief, right, you inspire your team to do the same. You inspire others to do the same. And so I love what I call the power of elevating just belief together. Think about this weekend. Have we not elevated belief together? Right? It's so much. How many of you guys already feel like it's so much bigger now? Right? It's like, right? Can't you feel it? Like I feel it and I love it. Right? And it comes from like modeling it first and then it spreads, right? But it's also just like, elevating the language of how we speak to each other and how we speak to our teams and encouraging. I tell people, become a professional encourager. That's what I do. I love people into their success story. Right? I just love them and love them and love them and love them until the green light goes and they figure it out, right? And then they hit it, right? But it's about kind of creating that movement. I want you guys to see this because how many of you guys well, first of all, I was too poor. I never had a pool. But how many of you guys had a pool or know people that had a pool? And do you remember when you were little and you created like the whirlpool? Right? Anybody else do that? Oh, God, it's such great fun memory, right? And you would get in, and you'd be running around, right? And then someone else would get in, and it would just be like a tornado in there, right? And you're like, ah! And it was actually kind of something like this, right? This is what it looked like. Right? I got Benny Hill on here. Some of you guys don't know, but that's what it is. Right? Well, you create it and you get going, right? And it was awesome. And this is what happens, guys, when you elevate belief together, right? And you just go and you go, and it kind of keeps going, okay? But, keeps going. But that's what happens. And that's what we want to do is people get caught up in it, right? Caught up in how many of you guys kind of maybe don't know what happened this weekend, but you're caught up. You're like, I'm caught up. I don't know, right? But it's that feeling and it's that belief, and that's the thing that we want to instill, and why, I believe with every cell in my body, we have so many incredible teams and so many incredible just leaders that are here that just sweep people up into this incredible movement of Modera and what we're doing. But I will tell you though, elevating belief, guys, it's a daily choice. You have to choose every day. It's not something that like you just kind of do every once in a while. Like you got to choose it. But the most important thing that I feel is that the only way that you can really create belief is action. Okay? Is action. And I think about like, anybody ever see what was that? The documentary with Steph Curry, Underrated? Okay. So for those who know, Steph Curry, basketball player. Hello. I think most of us know, right? And but I love the story of what he talks about is that for a long time he was a terrible shooter because he would never shoot. He was super fearful and like he just never did it. And now he's like the greatest shooter of all time because he finally decided to start taking the shots. And what one of his coaches taught him is he said, hey, the way that you create confidence is through being aggressive. So guys, the way that you create belief in your business is by taking the action and being aggressive. You're going to sometimes we think, we'll create the confidence and then we'll go do the action. right? But it's the other way around. The way that you become a great basketball player is you got to take the action. You got to take the shots. You got to do the thing, right? I remember my daughter Ava. She is traveling basketball, and she's like the tiniest peanut. But I love her. She's like, Mom, it doesn't matter because I can just run around everybody. I just love that, you know. She's like, I might not be good in all those areas, but I got that, so it's good. And I remember this year she wouldn't shoot. She was like, Tony's just like, she'd be the kid that like, she was like the ultimate team player where she would run around, do all the things, but then right when she'd get ready to shoot, she would freeze because I knew that like someone was messing with her head, and she would just pass it to somebody and then they would shoot. And we were always like, Ava, why won't you shoot? And it was a total God thing because we were flipping through the channels one day on Apple TV and I saw this, and she's a big basketball fanatic. And that's when I showed her this. I said, Ava, let's watch this documentary. I had no idea what it was about. But halfway through this documentary, I saw my kid get a light bulb moment. Oh, so cool. Has anyone ever seen when your kid clicks, it clicks on them? Guys, when it clicks, yeah, someone's like, yes. Isn't it cool? You're like, freaking got it. Like, you know, it's just so awesome. And the next day she had a tournament, and it was so cool because a lot of the parents knew that she wasn't shooting, and all of a sudden she was shooting, and she was shooting, and she was shooting, and she was getting baskets, and we were freaking. I think the other team thought we were crazy because the parents were excited because she was finally shooting. They're like, yeah, and we were like, yeah, right? Mind you, it's only 4th grade basketball, but how many guys know? It gets intense, okay? If you don't know my daughter, she's scrappy, okay? She is scrappy. But my point is, she decided to stop waiting to finally become confident to take the action. You know what I mean? She did it the other way around. I'm like, Ava, you got to get aggressive first. That's how it's going to come, right? So for some of you guys that are kind of still hanging on, and you're thinking, hey, I'm going to create the confidence, like you got to make the movement. The movement piece in our business is what's going to get you super, super fired up. Okay, so I want to talk to you guys about this.